You want to buy a house by a lake? Lake right over there through those trees. Can't see it, but it's there. Well, I can't afford a house by a lake. Sure you can. Anybody can afford anything. You just don't want the house you can afford. What about this house right here? It's not much of a house, is it? Kind of a cabin. 1,400 square foot, 2 bedrooms, garage. Living area is only 900 square feet. I got $35,000 in that entire building. $35,000. And while we live in that, we get to build that. Still working on it. As you can see by the plywood door up top. But living in this for the past 5 years, a $35,000 pole barn has afforded us the ability to build that out of pocket, which was quite a bit more than $35,000. Let's talk about it. Well, if we're going to talk about it, we've got to talk about the whole thing, right? I'll break down as much of it as I can for you. This would be like a 6-year or 5-year update on this place. We bought the property 7 years ago. I'll go into that later, but bought the property 7 years ago with the idea of building something temporary on it, maybe even moving an RV to it, because it actually had RV hookups when we bought it. But we decided to go ahead and build a pole barn. This is a 32 by 44 pole barn. As you can see, the entire interior is plywood. Did all that myself. All I had done was the pole barn. It's got a big old bathroom in it, which is also the laundry room, just like you'd expect in a cabin. The blue lines, that's the water lines. Why? Why would you leave the water lines exposed? Well, because it's a cabin. Eventually, we're not going to live in here. Someday I wanted to be able to put a space heater in here, shut this door, leave it all winter, and not have the pipes freeze. All the water is in this room, and there's one outlet that goes underneath this sink to the other side of this wall, which is the kitchen. The kitchen sink. That's all the water. We don't have central air or central heat. We have 3 space heaters, which right now, because it's 3 degrees outside and the wind chill's about 10 below, that's all the heat we have. And we have concrete floors. Oh, you don't want concrete floors? You'll never warm up. You'll freeze to death. Well, so far we haven't. Never had a pipe freeze either. Air conditioning? Tiny little 110 unit right here. Keeps this place a nice, cool 65 degrees all summer long. These right here, keep it about 70, 65, 70 in here all winter long. Right now we're running 3 of them. We usually don't. Usually only have 2, but like I said, it's very, very cold right now. If you look at the old videos, you'll see that this used to be a bedroom. That's the master right there, which is about 2 feet bigger lengthways. We did it that way on purpose because obviously Mama and me are going to be in this one for a little while till we get our house done. So, not real big. Everywhere concrete floors, but down rugs everywhere you're going to touch your feet to the floor because it's kind of shocking to touch a cold floor. But these little space heaters, it's all we have. And it's nice and toasty in here. It feels good. Kitchen is a cabin kitchen. There's no doors on anything. Got a little mini fridge down there for the liquor and for the water and all that. Big old basin sink. That was on purpose. Again, it's going to be a cabin when we're done. So it'd be kind of handy to have something like that out here. So if you got to clean fish or whatever. Plywood countertops. I stained them myself. Plywood walls. Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy. I think my daughter's one that told me these are called boob lights. They're like a boob. That's hilarious to me. There's another bedroom over here, but right now it's kind of a catch-all. So, but it's the same size as the other room you just saw. Yeah, right now there's a spare bed in here. Company comes, but right now it's a catch-all. Everything's just kind of thrown in here. And we don't keep it heated, of course, because there's nobody in here. No need to. Breakdown of this place is $25,000 to build it. Then I spent another $10,000 on insulation, wiring, PEX, plumbing, doors, trim. Got a few things used. I actually got that door used right there for my son-in-law. He was tearing the door out and got that one from him. The windows all came in it as a built unit. The $25,000 buys you a pole barn. If you don't know what a pole barn is, you'll have to investigate what that is. But you can build a house out of a pole barn. Problem is the concrete isn't really tied to the walls. The post frame or the poles sit in the ground, and then it's up to you to figure out how to keep them, keep the frame of the house and the concrete together. At any rate, they're not exactly, and there might not even be code, they're not exactly perfect for living in full time, but they're not exactly code. I imagine there's some places that say, no, you have to have your walls connected to your concrete, otherwise it ain't a house. But if all you're doing is living in something cheap while you can afford to do something else, what's the alternative? Rent a $1,500 a month apartment while you're doing this? No. We built this, got nothing in it, no payments on it. It's comfortable, it's comfy, and it's cozy. It's a cabin. What do you do when you go to the lake or you go on a hunting trip or a fishing trip? You stay in a cabin. Probably not even half this big. This is pretty roomy for a cabin. It's 1,400 square foot total, 900 square feet of living space, including that bedroom. So pretty decent. A lot of us grew up in a house about this big. But $25,000 gets you they call it the erection, the entire building, weather tight. It's doors, there's a big garage door, windows. I think there's 8 windows in this thing. I think that's right. I don't count it, but I think there's 8 windows. There's only one main door, one garage door. I had to put that door in. Had to put all these walls in. There was no plywood in here. It was just a bare thing. It came with the concrete. It is finished concrete, so it's nice and smooth. And they did, cut it for the expansion. And so there's no cracks in it. It's actually a really nice job on the floor, nicely polished. $25,000 got you that. That was the build of this is 6 years. This spring it would be 6 years. So this is 6 years old, basically a brand new house. We came in 6 months later and put another $10,000 into it. Like I said, plywood, very simple. Put R19 insulation on the walls. Since they were 2x6 posts, R19 when they're real nice. The entire perimeter of the house is wrapped in what they call double bubble, which is a double bubbled plastic wrap insulation with foil on one side. It's got a decent R value. It's really good on wind too, and deflects heat off the metal. And so you don't feel a lot of heat in here. Even without the insulation, you didn't really ever get hot in here. And then, like I said, R19 went in the walls, R30 went into the ceiling, and then in the walls in between, because I knew we were going to be shutting rooms off eventually, I did R13. That way you can kind of insulate from that cold area right there and from that garage wall right there. I'm not going to show you the garage because it's filthy. It's a mess right now. I've got a lot of my crap in there. There's tools and an old car and just way too much crap to look at. But so about $35,000 in a 1,400 square foot 2-bedroom cabin. Again, did all of the interior work myself. All of it, which isn't much. Just a few walls. There's a wall there, wall there, wall in between, wall there, wall there, walls on their side, wall there. Some 2x4s and some plywood. The hardest thing was actually the ceiling. I used a transmission jack and milk crates to jack the plywood up so I could screw it on. Everything's screwed on too. I didn't nail anything except for this trim. This trim's nailed. And trim's simple. You just go to Home Depot or wherever and get 1x's. There's 1x2s up there, and I think that's a 1x6 there. Very simple. This used to be a bedroom, like I said. Kids finally got out. We had 2 kids left out of 4 when we built this place. We had to put a kid there and a kid there. This kid left. And then that kid left. We decided to make this into more of a kind of a great room, whatever, kind of a slash dining room, whatever. And I just opened that up. That's not a load-bearing ceiling, but there are wires running, or load-bearing wall. There are wires running through there, though, so I made sure that I kept that so I could keep the wires running through it. Anyway, breakdown's pretty easy on this. Yeah, it was 6 years ago when it was built. But if you priced it today, again, I had to pay for labor on putting up the pole barn. That same pole barn, instead of 25, is probably 35. Hell, it might be 45. The interior, instead of 10,000, might be 20,000. Well, I don't want plywood. Okay, get sheetrock. Here's a newsflash for you. Sheetrock's actually cheaper than plywood. You can get the sheetrock in here, get it mudded and taped, probably even painted, if you did the work yourself, for about the same price you could do the plywood. I did plywood because it's a cabin. I wanted it to look like a cabin. I didn't want it to look like a 2-bedroom ranch in the city somewhere. We got a lake over there across the street. We're in 5 acres of woods here. I didn't want it to look like, like I lived in town. So the breakdown's pretty easy. Let's say it costs you $45,000 to get this built today. It costs you another $20,000 to do the interior. If you're going to do nice, make it nice. That's $65,000 for a 1,400 square foot ranch. You do most work. Hire out the work. Okay, add another $20,000 to it. $85,000. You can afford this. The thing is people go for these houses they can't afford. Under $100,000, you could have a place like this easily. You just got to have the land to do it. I'll talk about land in another video. That's not that hard either. You just got to stop buying land where it's the highest dollar amount. Stop buying $20,000 an acre, $20,000 a lot land. You can do this. Anybody can have a house. Anybody can afford a house. You just have to pick the house you can afford. Do it today.